think the term game change, groundbreaking gets overused sometimes, but we get to talk about NovaGraz today, which actually I think lives up to that kind of term. In our business and offer some new and unique benefits that have been previously available. But just first of all, I hope everybody is somewhere warmer today than what it is here. I doubt it, as I'm probably farther south than some in Missouri. But I'm longing for a day when it's when we have pastures as lush and green like the one in the picture here, and you don't have to feed hay and be out in the cold. We can just enjoy the sunshine and the green grass, and I'm really looking forward to those days in the months to come. And I just like to think about it, as we're one day closer to spring than we were, and so it's not that far off, and it's time to start thinking about strategies and ways to grow more grass as we go into springtime. So we have some really cool things to talk about with that. And so with that, I'm going to just introduce myself first of all. I'm Brant Metler, for those who I don't know. I'm the territory manager for Corteva's range and pasture business in southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. I live down around Joplin, Missouri, and basically Kansas City South down to about Fort Smith or Little Rock in that area. So it's kind of the geography that I cover. So, like I said, I'm probably warmer than some of you are, but it's plenty cold in my own regard. So, with that said, I'll probably cover most of the topics here today, but did want to introduce some of the other guys or let them introduce themselves that are on here, as there are some other folks from maybe more your region and that could also chime in and answer some specific questions if we have them. So, Jordan, I'll kick it to you first.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jordan Boone. I'm territory manager for Eastern Kansas, pretty much Great Bend, a little bit east of Great Bend, east from there, and then north of the Missouri River in Missouri.
And I'm Abe Smith. Pleasure to have you guys all with us. I cover basically the eastern two-thirds of Nebraska and all of Iowa for our retail account responsibilities. And pleasure to have you all here today. So as we get started with our webinar, we do have an opportunity for you guys to be able to ask Q&A or questions of us. We don't use the chat feature on this overall, but we do have a up at Brian, are you able to advance that?
Trying to.
Okay. We do have a Q&A button that as you have questions, uh, throw those into us. And if they're relevant to what Brant's talking about in the discussion, we will have those answered or we'll pass those on to our speaker, whether it's Brant or Jordan. And if not, we may table those, but we'll hold on to those and we'll make sure that we answer those at the end of the webinar. It's a great way to be able to engage with us and make sure you get all the questions answered about this new product. So we'll let Brant take it from here.
Great. Yep. Technology seems to be working now, so that's good. But so yeah, I get to talk about the fun stuff here. For the longest time, producers have had to compromise when it comes to weed control. You had to either accept that you were going to lose all of your desirable legumes in order to get desirable weed control. And that's just been kind of a give and take compromise that you've had to make up until this point. And this is my 16th season doing this. And so the most reoccurring question that I have gotten is what do you have that will control my weeds, but not also kill my clover and some of my desirable legumes? And so NovaGraz is the answer to that question. And so we're excited to kind of talk about it and show that it kind of does some unique things. But in general, I think it's important to kind of talk about the benefits or the reasons and the justifications for doing weed control in general. You see an example here of a pasture that's growed up in thistle. And you see that you tend to kind of give up some real estate and some potential and opportunity when you have weeds invade like this. You give up forage production, you lose quantity of forage produced, and also quality of forage produced. So that results in things like reduced carrying capacity. These weeds tend to outcompete desirable grass. And as the saying goes, pound of for every 1 pound of weeds, you gain 2 to 5 pounds of grass in its place. And so that's kind of just the benefits and the justification for doing some weed control in general. And then so with NovaGraz, um, you get to do the best of both. You get to control your weeds and also save some of those desirable legumes. So NovaGraz is kind of a product unlike any other in that it preserves some of those desirable legumes such as white clover and annual or Korean lespedeza, but also controls the broadleaf weeds. So it's the perfect, I wouldn't say compromise, but it kind of allows you to do both things all at one time, and where we haven't really had a good option for that in the past. A little bit about the product itself, so there has been, other kind of, I would say, marginal options, such as just 2,4-D by itself. The issue with that is that you would have to use a reduced rate in order to preserve your legume. Whereas NovaGraz, it preserves the legumes, such as white clover and annual lespedeza, but also gives you excellent weed control. So you don't give up and compromise on the weed control side of it as well. So again, you get to improve the quantity and quality of forage produced, while also having a good option there to control the weeds. Wanted to kind of throw this point in there. At this point in the geography that I cover, maybe or maybe not the geography that you're at, a lot of the acres today in my geography get herbicide put on them via Altigraze or incorporating herbicide on dry fertilizer with products such as Duracor to this point. That works really great. However, I did just want to make the point that NovaGraz is not approved to be used when incorporated with dry fertilizer. It's mainly a low or no residual type product. So to get the coverage that we need, it has to be sprayed conventionally and not incorporated on dry fertilizer. So I think that's just kind of an important point to note, in that we need to use this as a traditional foliar applied type product and not incorporated on dry fertilizer. Here, the good thing about this product is that we have been developing it for many years now, and so we have lots of experiences. We've got to see it firsthand. I have got to see it firsthand. And here's an example of a side-by-side and some trials that we did here a few years ago with NovaGraz. Here you can see pictures of the plot in the trial several weeks after application. The picture on the left, obviously, is the untreated check strip, and that you can see there was a lot of mass produced there, but it's mostly weeds. And so we gave up a lot of quality of forage produced as well as the quantity of forage produced there. Whereas on the picture on the right, again, this is several weeks after application. Grass stand, but also we were to keep the white clover down below. So we have a diverse forage base and some good diversity there. So first, you see that they they would go back and forth from the check strip to the treated, and they tend to graze more pressure on the treated areas where we had better quality of forage as well. So you get to have kind of the best of both. You get to have your grass and your legumes, and get rid of the undesirable broadleaf weeds. Another warm season legume that gets overlooked that I really would encourage you to consider utilizing, that NovaGraz is also very safe and friendly on, is annual or Korean lespedeza. And so it's a warm season favor well, kind of feels in that summer slump. And so whereas NovaGraz is very friendly on lespedeza as well, so you can incorporate it and get a good weed control option as well. And so we still have time to do some frost seeding in a lot of areas. So if you're considering doing frost seeding, I would encourage you to look at either your white clover varieties, which one it might be, or annual lespedeza. I would just make the point that this product, you haven't heard me talk about red clover, and that's because we really don't want to recommend this on red clover. Although it may not completely eliminate it, it is definitely going to hurt it to a point where that's not going to be something that we recommend. And so specifically, we're talking about preserving white clover and annual lespedeza. So it is a limited residual type product. And so with that, if you did have some red in there, red and white mixed, and you took out your red, you could reseed legumes such as red clover in as little as 30 days. You can reseed any kind of your grasses in 14 days. So a short residual there, or if this is on a pasture that someday might be farmed, there is a 90-day crop rotation interval, which is considerably shorter than some of the other options, such as Duracore, where you're talking about years instead of months. And so, it being the limited residual, it gives you some options and flexibility there as well. Use rate of this product is just a standard 24-ounce use rate. Comes in a 2-gallon jug, 2 by 2 gallon case. And so one jug treats 10 acres. For simplicity, it's kind of packaged that way to one jug to 10 acres at the 24-ounce use rate. You can make up to 2 applications per season, up to 48 ounces per year. And so in my opinion, being a post-emergent low residual type product, in this geography, the best timing in my mind, if you were going to make 2 applications or 2 windows, and I really think a person should consider that fall time frame, depending on where you're at, what fall means, whether that's kind of September to November, depending on the weather in your geography. That way, you kind of eliminate some of those biannuals or winter annuals and start clean in the springtime. And or again, I think the other good window is kind of the late spring, early summer, kind of late April through early June timeframe, so that you take care of those summer annuals, things like ragweed or cockaburr, things like that. So I think you kind of got 2 windows there. You obviously can do it other times, but I think, in my opinion, my suggestion or my recommendation is that those 2 windows are kind of the best time frame to do this. And so you could make up to 2 applications a year if you wanted. Not saying it's needed, but it is an option. Adjuvant recommendation, that question has been asked multiple times. And so if you will read deeply into the label, you'll see that the adjuvant requirement for this product is a little different than some of our other options. It specifically mentions that it needs to be accompanied by a methylated seed oil or MSO adjuvant at that product's recommendation. So we don't want to use, say, our non-ionic adjuvants for this. We need that oil-based adjuvant to kind of help this chemistry penetrate and to see the level of weed control that we're looking for. We really need to incorporate the MSOs with this product. What this chart is showing, you'll see this on some of our literature, but just kind of my simple explanation of it. On the left, it shows when using NovaGraz, you look at it several weeks after application, you have a lot less weed pressure and presence. And then again, looking at it on the right, several weeks after, you have a whole lot higher concentration or percentage of white clover persistence. So less weeds, more clover is what we see as the results of using this product. Some of our other products like Duracore, we kind of promote as having, broad weed spectrum. The control, Duracore kills 140 different weeds, which is great. NovaGraz is a little more specific in its weed control, not as broad a spectrum. It does not control as many number of weeds, but I will tell you that some of the ones that it does control kind of hit right in the heart of what we're going after. Things like thistle, ragweed, plantain, hemlock, just to name a few. I don't know if all of them are listed here, but here are several of the most frequently asked about ones. And I would just tell you that don't discredit this product. A lot of times we think if it saves the legumes, that it's going to be weak on the weed control, but I would tell you that cannot be farther from the truth. The weed control is actually really good with this product, and it does hit some of those species that we would be most concerned about. And so the weed control, it is really, or should be rather impressive in terms of what it controls. There's some things I want you to kind of know following applications so that they don't come as a surprise. Although NovaGraz, it does preserve white clover and annual lespedeza, I would tell you that for a period of time following the application, you'll see some yellowing, some lodging, some loss of vigor, some discoloration to the clover for at least a few weeks after application. It will be noticeable, and so I want you to know that ahead of time and to expect that, so it doesn't come as a surprise or a concern. But by about week 4 and beyond, it returns to its normal production and capabilities. And so just something to be aware of. And so that is something that we wanted to call out here as well. I get lots of questions on specific clover varieties. There's more than just one out there. You know, everybody's got their favorite flavor or variety of white clover. And I would say, in general, we are promoting NovaGraz for use on all of the white clover varieties. Some varieties do show more or less tolerance to NovaGraz, and where you might see that difference or notice the change is in that kind of that first 30 days after application. Some of them bounce back faster than others, but in general, by about day 30 or and beyond, all of the white clover varieties should recover, and we would consider those as a safe application. So some just additional factors and things to consider to make this a successful application. There are not grazing restrictions for NovaGraz. However, in order to speed up the bounce back or the recovery following application, I would just encourage you to not put too much pressure on it, not to overgraze it for, say 30 days or a few weeks after application. Don't put a bunch of nitrogen, no more than 30 or 40 pounds of nitrogen after an application or thereabout, because it will encourage the grass production. And when that clover is kind of trying to recover, the grass will outcompete it if you put too much nitrogen on it. So just a couple points to recommend and to call out there in terms of getting it to recover faster. You know, there's a lot of benefits by improving the quality of forage and the quantity of forage, whether you're a cow guy and trying to improve or utilize those genetics in terms of growth and conception. And it all begins with the forage base, being able to produce a quality forage base. And it all starts with the grass. And so we're trying to convert a diverse forage base by having a legume and grass mix and to help you realize your potential in terms of genetics. And then from a stalker guy perspective, it's all about pounds gained and trying to do that efficiently. And so improving that forage base, that's your cheapest feed source is the grass that you already have in front of them. So trying to get them to gain better on that grass is kind of what it's all about. And so NovaGraz, we think is a great tool, or we know is a great tool, is to get more in off of your grass by improving the quality deeper. And so, I hope we address some of the key points on the product. But you can, if you want to do some research on your own, you can find some information on overbase.us. But I will tell you, please talk to one of us. We've seen handle this every day. I always like talking to a person, a live person, or a face versus just the internet. So talk now, and we'll be happy to address any kind of concerns or questions on the product, and hopefully allow it to be successful for using. Hey, are there any questions or anything that I might have missed?
Well, feel free to add your question to the Q&A overall, but a couple questions that are circulating. Number one, commonly in the where is NovaGraz going to stand out as compared to a 2,4-D type of application in these sort of situations, Brent?
Well, obviously, just the obvious answer is the weed control, the level of weed control. If you were to do a side by side, much higher percentage control on tougher to kill weeds. Not saying you want to make late season applications on mature weeds, but you do have a bigger window on, whereas the 2,4-D using it at a lower rate in order to preserve the clover, you need to catch the weeds smaller. Otherwise, they kind of are out of reach. Whereas NovaGraz gives you kind of a little more reach there. And a little more timing as well, and higher percentage control.
And then second, in fescue situations where there's a desire to help do some seed head suppression, is there how would you help manage that? How does NovaGraz help with that situation, or is there tank mixes that should be considered to help balance those things out? Or is it not a good option in that scenario?
Yeah, I don't expect NovaGraz to have any results on fescue seed head suppression, unlike some of the other options. And so, and I'm not really aware of anything that you could add to it that wouldn't also eliminate the clover, which that's why we're using it. And
Yep.
so, that's probably not something that we can accomplish by this product and this concept.
Yeah, sometimes you have to pick which options that, trying to make good management choices does not allow you to uh, click the all of the above in those scenarios. You don't get to have everything all the time. So NovaGraz is going to be a great tool for helping these pastures that do have white clover, annual lespedeza, and want to maintain those forbs. But you may have some other management choices to make if your fescue is if you're trying to deal with seed head suppression or even other issues. Talk a little bit about one of the common ones we've talked about would be Canada thistle. Let's make sure that the folks understand where we would be at with Canada thistle and this product, just to help set expectations.
Yeah, Canada thistle is a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Being in southern Missouri, we just don't get those varieties. We're dealing with more biennials, musk bull, Scotch, those biennial varieties. And so, but I would tell you, just my expectation is that it would not be as good on those perennials such as Canada. If you've got more experience with that weed, but I would just say that I would not expect it to be just a lights out home run on that one, maybe more suppression.
Yeah, Canada thistle is not going to be labeled as a control or controlled species on this label. So in many of these situations, I would be recommending spot treatments with products like Duracor. Could be very effective. Granted, it's more work, but if you're trying to preserve your clover and manage Canada thistle, that's going to be the most effective way to make those management choices in that sort of scenario. So again, NovaGraz is going to be good on a variety of weeds that we have out there, but it's just not necessarily going to control everything.
Exactly.
Any other questions from our attendees?
Hey Brant, I know one I've been getting out in the field is about grasses grown for seed. Is there any restrictions on harvesting the seed after application with this product?
No, I would expect NovaGraz to be an option that you could use if you're planning to without limited without core graze on next. Those products are not approved for use, whereas NovaGraz, if you were going to cut fescue seed, you could use NovaGraz in those applications.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. Want to thank everyone for being here and participating. Brent, thank you for leading the discussion. And as a brand opened with, please reach out to us individually if you want additional questions. But if you think this presentation would be valuable to you or one of your other coworkers or someone else that needs to hear about NovaGraz, this presentation will be available to be shared. So if you're looking for that link, reach out to us and we can share that when it becomes available. So with that, have a great Tuesday, guys, and hopefully you stay safe down or locked in because of the snow down in your area, but stay safe. Safety is the number one priority for Corteva, and hopefully it is for you as well. So stay safe and warm on this beautiful Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Thank you.